Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was just a light that was blown out too quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Talk
nonetheless,
about
bro,
that.
the 80s was the best part of my life. And then the 90s followed it up.
So at what point does hip hop become the next part, like the next inspiration for you? The next.
Man, I've been into hip hop has always been an inspiration.
Okay.
Starting in the 80s.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I come from uh, the LL Cool J's, I'm Bad in the Radios, the Beastie Boys, in '86. You know what I mean? Uh, that's my background. Like I come from that. You know, the Ron DMC's and all that.
Yeah.
You know, Cool Modis. Um, Going into the Eric B and Rakims. You know, this is all before Biggie and Pac.
Yeah.
Hip hop didn't start with Biggie and Pac for me.
Yeah.
Now they one of the most, you know, just the pinnacle parts of hip hop. But it is, I've been in hip hop way before then.
Yeah.
You know?
I think Self Destruction was one of the first songs I had ever heard, and I was a knee high to a fly's eye. You know what I mean? I was real small, and I heard it. And I was like, "What is that?" You know what I mean? I think at that point, that's when things started to change for me, especially. But by the time I had a better grasp of it, it was more of Chronic, right? It was Dr. Dre's Chronic.
You talking 92, 91.
Yeah, yeah. And then there was Doggy Style, and then I became
93.
influenced by the West Coast music because I understood that more than I understood the East Coast music. Because it was more of their lifestyle was more
similar to what
exactly.
What we doing Chicago.
It was very similar. Like they may have been using red and blue a different way, but it was similar to what we had going on in Chicago.
Yeah, it was.
And the culture that we had was kind of similar to what they were going through as well. You know what I mean? And there was nothing wrong with East Coast music. I just caught more of a vibe with that. And then after that, it became MJG and 8 Ball and Scarface, Ghetto Boys Resurrection and things like that. So, that became my pattern, man. But it was out like growing up and you seeing the things that you seeing, and you seeing drugs in the community, you seeing people getting killed. You just start seeing sporadic and erratic behavior from people, and you just wonder like, this has to be true. If they can tell these stories, they're not pulling these stories out of the air, man. Like this shit has, because it's hitting a certain part of me and it's tingling my brain and it's giving me a feeling in my heart and in my stomach that's unmatched. You know what I mean? So that was that West Coast feel, and then that MJG and 8 Ball. That's what did it for me. And then I can't forget UGK because them shits was crazy that they was putting out too, man. God rest his soul, Pimp C.
Back then, you know, it was all that for me. Like, you know, once we got out of the 80s and we went into the 90s, you know, when I'm in high school, you know, I went to high school in '88. So, you know, 92. So back then, you know, 92, Snoop got the popping, young Snoop, you know, popping up on the Chronic. Then his, you know, Dropping Murder was the case. Then, you know, even when Nas was bubbling, he went on my radar with Illmatic, you know, in '94. You know what I mean? It wasn't even on my radar because at that time I'm so West Coast driven. You see what I'm saying? It's or down south. You know, it's either Snoop. Then you got, like you say, it was Ghetto Boys for me. You know, and then I'm talking Ghetto Boys with Big Mike. You know,
that's early on.
You see what I'm saying? So then it's, you know, it's 8 Ball and MJG. You know, it's these guys. It's you know, UGK. It's Dayton Family. You know these guys. You know, this is what I'm listening to. You know,
that was crazy too.
Then sprinkle in a little DJ Quick, AMG and Second to None. You know,
DJ Quick is a bad fucking dude, man.
You know what I mean? Warren G and all them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what it was for me. You know, I didn't really come back towards the East Coast hip hop into 95, 94, 95. And that's when Big came.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I wasn't a big Wu fan. I wasn't on them like that, you know, early on.
I started getting pieces of that because I started hearing it and I was like, what the fuck is that? Like that was different. And I started gravitating toward it. And I was okay, this is different. This might they might be on to something. It was so kind of abstract, but then it was like they were saying certain things again, it starts ringing, it starts giving you that tingle. Man, let me go check this shit out, man. Like, they not just rapping, they saying stuff over here.
Right.
You know, they dropping knowledge. Let me go check this out real quick. You know. So yeah, definitely. Continue on. Continue on.
Yeah, you know, and that's just what it was for me, man. And even simultaneously through the early 90s up until 96, you know, Pac was always present. You know, when he dropped in 92 with Tupac Is Now, one of my favorite albums ever. You know, and when he dropped that, and then, you know, Holla If You Hear Me in 93, you know, and Above the Rim soundtrack and all this. And so he was bubbling and becoming the biggest star the whole time, you know, up until, you know, his passing in 96, you know, and it was him and, when he passed, it was him and Nas. That's all I listened to in 96. It Was Written and Machiavelli and All Eyes on Me. That's all I played in 96. In 96, Hov wasn't even on my radar with Reasonable Doubt.
Okay.
I didn't get on Hov until 97.
Probably around the same time that I did. Probably around the same time.
When he dropped Volume 1.
Yeah.
And I had to go back
and get that.
And listen to Reasonable Doubt and to realize how great that album was and how classic that album was.
Yeah, great production too. Was it DJ Premier, DJ Clark Kent?
Yeah, Clark Kent, a few of them, Ski and all these guys.
Yeah. And that was a really
Jazzo, you know, produced Ain't No Nigga, you know, and all that.
Yeah. And that song took a while. I didn't like that song in the beginning, man.
Right.
I didn't like that song in the beginning. Every time it would come on in a CD, I'd skip right over it. And then someone was like, yo, you got to sit down and listen. He said, just listen to what Jay's saying, man. Just listen.
One of my homies put me up on it. Like one of my young boys put me up on it. He was riding and listening to that. He was playing that. Ain't No, you know, and I'm like, cool. Then he played something. I'm like, yo, who is this you listening to? He's like, you know, Jay-Z. So he told me the album. And I went back and listened to it. And by like 97, when I heard him in 97, which is still my favorite album to this date, is Volume 1. And once I heard him, I had liked them already in 97. So it was more easy for me to go back and give him a listen a year prior to when he dropped in 96.